Hey Miraculous fans, Crystal here, and today I'm going to be doing some predictions for the Season 6 episodes based on their names. I know I'm a little bit late to the party since we've already gotten some episodes of Season 6, and I'm sure other people already did predictions like this back when the episode names were first revealed, but screw it, I'm doing this anyway because there are still plenty of episodes to predict for. In fact, there are 26 episodes in the season, so I'm a little worried this video might get kind of long, so I hope you guys don't mind watching a long video. I mean, you already clicked on it and saw the video length. I don't know how long it's gonna get, I'm recording it. But, whatever. There are 26 episodes of Season 6, and I'm gonna make predictions for all of them based on their names. And for the ones that we've already got released at this time, I'm going to be honest and mention what I did predict the episode might be back before we knew. Like, I'm not going to just say, yeah, I predicted this and got it right. No, I'm going to be honest. Or if I don't remember having any predictions about that one, I might try to forget what we know now and imagine what I would guess if I didn't know, if that makes sense. Or I might bring up what I remember hearing other people predict at the time. Don't worry, it'll make sense as we go along, so let's get into it. Climatiqueen. So this is one that a lot of people guessed right, because I do remember a lot of people saying it's probably another stormy weather. But I also remember some people thinking it might be a Chloe episode, or at least I remember myself thinking that it might be, mainly because of the Queen part, because Chloe has had a lot of Queen stuff, like Queen Bee, Queen Wasp, Queen Banana, I think that was a thing. But I don't think anyone was too adamant that it was Chloe. It was just the Queen thing, but the pretty obvious evidence for the stormy weather thing comes from the French titles, because the original French, the episode Stormy Weather, along with her Akuma name, was Climatica. So it's pretty clear that Climatiqueen is expanding on that, which is why that one was pretty easy to predict, all things considered. So a lot of people guessed that, knowing the French name. Illusthater. So I remember when I first saw this title, I assumed it was probably a Nathaniel episode. You know, since it sounds like Illustrator and he does drawing and all that. We already had Eve Illustrator, which also derives from the word illustrator, so it made sense to predict that. And we know they're not against reusing characters who have already been akumatized, especially because the first episode was a stormy weather repeat. And we've had a bunch of other repeat Akumas before too. But we now know it wasn't Nathaniel, and it was a completely new side character. Not just a side character, but from what I've seen about that episode, though I haven't seen it in full, I've just seen clips, she probably isn't even a new recurring character, just a one-off. Which is fine, because sometimes the episode's plot isn't really centered around the Akuma character, they're just there to create conflict to aid in the actual main point of the episode. But that just meant no one could predict who the Akuma character was, because it's someone we didn't already know. I remember being a little disappointed at first when I first heard what the episode was about when it released, because I was kinda hoping for a Nathaniel episode like I predicted. Then again, now that he's got a Miraculous permanently, I doubt he'd be an Akuma, and by extension I feel like all the Miraculous holders are less likely to be akumatized since they have that sense of responsibility and all. Plus, we know characters can reject an Akuma if they try hard enough, and I'm glad they didn't end up making him be a villain for a day. Plus, at this point of recording now, we also now know that we do have a Nathaniel episode. It's just not this one. And it's not Nathaniel as the Akuma, but it's still centered on him, and I'm really looking forward to watching that one, but I digress. Sublimation. I'm going to be honest, I don't remember having any ideas about this one when the titles were first revealed, and I don't remember hearing any other predictions going around for me to mention, so there's not a lot to say about this one. The name reminds me of Season 5 episode names like Elation or Determination or Jubilation, where they were all based on concepts, though a lot of those concepts came from concepts that a Miraculous represents. Looking into the meaning of the word sublimation to figure out what people could have predicted, when I first look it up, I find it as a science term, the process where a substance transitions directly from a solid to a gas without passing through the liquid phase, which doesn't seem to be what they're going for. But then I saw a different explanation saying it's a term in psychology, and it refers to a defense mechanism where socially unacceptable impulses are redirected into socially acceptable actions. I saw another simple explanation of sublimation in terms of emotions, saying that making the best out of a bad situation by channeling your emotions into a productive activity is known as sublimation. Sometimes part of processing difficult emotions means shifting them into something better. Now, that could mean something here. If people were making predictions using that definition of sublimation, they might have come to the conclusion that it referred to Adrian processing his difficult emotions about his father by channeling his emotions into something productive. But getting to the real answer, because we do have that episode, just like with Illusthater, nobody could have predicted the Akuma character from the name because it's a new character. But also, we now know what the episode is about. My interpretation of the title is that it's more about Sublime, not Adrian. Like, that definition about channeling difficult emotions into something productive, that's probably what they're going for, I think. I'm trying not to spoil the episode, but I did want to see how close that prediction would have gotten. And that fits her character pretty well with how she accepts her emotions about the stress and pressure she's under and turns it around as motivation to not let it beat her, to make it productive. At least that's how I interpreted it, especially with that bathroom mirror scene that I've seen a clip of. I haven't seen the whole episode. I've seen that bit where Marinette probably thought she was saying it like, I know you're stalking me, but she was, people have said she's actually talking to her own anxiety. Daddycop. This one had one main prediction that I remember hearing, which was that it's another Roger Cop episode. The name makes it pretty obvious, but it was suspected that the drama would involve his relationship with Sabrina, considering the daddy part. Which is also the reason that a lot of people made fun of this episode name when the titles were first announced, because, like, Daddycop? Come on. And for the most part, that prediction would have been right. Although, from what I've seen about the episode, it doesn't seem to really be about Roger that much. And it's not so much about his relationship with Sabrina. It seems to focus more on Sabrina's interactions with the other characters, like Marinette and Zoe. So, it's more just, from what I've heard, it's more just she gets upset and her dad gets mad on her behalf to get akumatized. But that's just from what I know. Again, I have not seen any of these episodes in full, but I have not been making much effort to avoid spoilers, so I have seen clips. Moving on. Werepapas. Now, I remember predicting this one when the episode titles first dropped. I actually predicted this one to be an episode about Marinette's dad, because we already had Weredad, which had him as the Akuma. It's got the Were part, and the Papa part makes sense, because I think Marinette even calls him Papa, not Dad. So my prediction that I had when I first saw the episode titles revealed was that Marinette's dad would be akumatized. Probably through some misunderstanding, since he wouldn't normally get angry unless he thought something happened to Marinette or something like that. I remember in Weredad, he was upset because he thought Cat Noir broke Marinette's heart because she said she was in love with him and he rejected her. So when I first saw this episode's title, since her relationship with Adrian has progressed, my prediction was that there would be some misunderstanding to make her dad think that Adrian hurt her in some way. That was my thoughts when we first got the episode titles. Of course, we now know it's nothing about Marinette's dad, despite the name similarities, and it's instead about Adrian's grandparents. Sleeping Syren. Now this one I can actually try to predict because it's one we haven't seen yet. Because for some stupid reason they skipped it to release things way out of order. Which I'm not going to get into that. I already did a video on season 6 episode orders. Go watch that if you want. But as you saw with Climatiqueen being at the start, I'm doing this video and these predictions in order of the numbers that they gave us. So, Sleeping Syren. Well, my best guess, since we already had an episode called Syren, is that it's another one about Undine. I nearly slipped up because my last video that I did was actually about characters' names that people mispronounce. So she was one that I've gotten wrong. So anyway, you know who I'm talking about. Undine. I'm not gonna harp on about it. It's Undine. But getting back to the point, that's my prediction about this episode. It's called Sleeping Syren, so I'm betting on it being about her, or at least having her as the Akuma while the plot has other subplots. We haven't really seen her, at all since her introduction, except in the background a bit. So it'd be really interesting if we do get an Akuma episode for her, maybe exploring her relationship with Kim. And if she's the Akuma, maybe Kim will be helping as King Monkey to stop her. We see that a few times, where the extra hero is someone connected to the Akuma character. Like when Jolika first used hers, it was both her parents, or when Max used the horse Miraculous, it was his mum, or Alia's first with her little sisters. Plus, although I haven't seen the episode, I've heard that El Toro De Piedra had Ivan's dad as the Akuma, and they had Ivan helping as a hero too, which is the perfect segue into the next episode in order, El Toro De Piedra. Now, this is another one where we already know what it is, but thinking back to when we didn't know, I feel like people probably predicted that it would involve Ivan, because he uses the ox Miraculous, and everyone knows Toro means a bull or an ox, like the zodiac Taurus. But also, the other reason why people probably thought Ivan might be the Akuma is because the other part of the name Piedra means stone. And what was Ivan's original Akuma? Stoneheart. Oh, can you imagine if Ivan got akumatized while transformed with the Miraculous? And then he became a sort of ox-themed stone monster? Like a bull made of stone kind of thing. I think that'd be pretty cool. I kind of wish that happened. That was my prediction. I mean, Toro and Piedra, a bull of stone. And it wouldn't be the first time someone's been akumatized with a Miraculous. I think Chloe had it while using hers in the season 3 finale, which amplified her venom power to mind control people instead of just freezing them. And if I remember Cat Blanc right, I think he was transformed when it happened, so it amplified his destruction power. I think Ivan as a stone bull would have been really cool. And really challenging, since his power from the bull Miraculous is the ox Miraculous, is to be invulnerable to other magic, so there's that. But unfortunately, a small spoiler if you haven't seen the episode, that's not what happens. But that was my idea of what it could have been based on the name. We do end up seeing Ivan involved in the episode, just not as the Akuma himself. But of course, those who have seen the episode know that that is not the most memorable thing about the episode, but I'll save that discussion for when I get to my review of the episode. Before I move on, the other thing I want to quickly bring up is the fact that I mentioned some people have seen that episode. The question of whether people have seen the episode is actually kind of tricky because as of recording this, the episode isn't technically considered to be released yet. Most sources say that it's coming on June 7th, which hasn't happened yet. It might have by the time this video is out because there's going to be a delay before uploading. But as of recording this, it's not. I don't normally date my videos by saying when they were recorded, but for the sake of this point, I will. I'm recording this on actually the 3rd of June, though I had these predictions planned for a while. I'm just recording it today. But it won't be uploaded for a while. So, as of speaking, the episode is not out. It might be out when you're watching this. Because most sources say it's coming on June 7th. That's the official release date. However, some people might have already watched it because some websites appear to have the episode available, just not in the English dub. And it's the same deal for The Ruler. On a certain website that I plan to use to watch the episodes, it has the episodes listed on screen now, including El Toro De Piedra and The Ruler, but those two are with English subtitles, so presumably in French. So that's the tricky thing with saying whether an episode has been released or not, because sometimes an episode is sort of released, but officially not, where you can watch it with subtitles, but there's no English dub yet. And in that window of time, some people consider it released yet, but some people consider it not released yet because they want to wait for the English dub, while some fans are desperate enough to see what happens that they watch it and put up with subtitles, usually because they don't want to risk hearing spoilers. Because if you wait for the English dub, other people already know what happens and the spoilers are out there. It's a tricky situation, which is why it's hard to say phrases like the episode is released or isn't released, or if you've watched the episode, because in this window of time, a lot of people know what happens in the episodes, but it's considered not officially released. But let's get back on track. Moving on. Vampigami. Well, back to an episode we know nothing about. I can actually try to make a real prediction here. Now, the last part makes me think of Kagami, so maybe it's about her. But the first part makes it sound like she's become a vampire? Now, it could just be some sort of joke. Maybe the episode has something where Kagami is really into reading vampire stories or something. Nah, that sounds kind of silly. But you never know with this show. Funnily enough, I have actually already seen fan art someone did of Kagami as a vampire because of this episode title. But regardless, this title sounds pretty weird. I don't know what else I could say. Then again, I could just be completely misinterpreting what the parts of the title are coming from. Other than that, I've got nothing. I still think it probably involves Kagami, but the vampire thing is probably a bit of a stretch. Then again, Optigami had Gami in it, and it had nothing to do with Kagami, so what do I know? Maybe this episode also has nothing to do with Kagami. In fact, while writing this, I actually looked up where Optigami got its name from, and it also, I should have known this, it also comes from how Gami is Japanese for paper, and Optigami's name, that part comes from origami, because the center monster Optigami had a folded paper-like body. So maybe this episode also gets its name from paper and not Kagami. I don't know. Mr. Agreste. Now this name gives me two ideas, and it could really go either way with which way they end up going with it, unless it's neither of them. For one idea, it could refer to Gabriel. Even though he's dead, the episode could be about him through exploring his past, either through flashbacks or just the ways that the characters are still being affected by his actions. We did already have an episode called Gabriel Agreste, which was the one where Felix thought he was Shadow Moth, and he tried to deflect suspicion by making a center monster of himself or something, and he also wanted to get Felix's ring or something, that from what I remember. So it would be a nice parallel to that. But for my other idea, Mr. Agreste could refer to Adrian himself as the new Mr. Agreste in a sense. He's the man of the house now, I guess, if you want to put it like that. And it could be about something like him dealing with managing how he's now managing everything he's now responsible for, since he would have inherited everything, like the house, the money, and any business stuff his dad had. Or it could be something about exploring his feelings about his father with their complicated relationship. I do really hope we get enough exploration of that, because he has some complicated feelings to deal with. Regardless of which way they go with it, it's pretty obvious that that from the title of this episode, that it's going to be pretty centered around Adrian's family. The Dark Castle. Isn't that a Stephen King book or something? Wait, no, that's Dark Tower. But anyway, I don't have much ideas for this one. I really don't. The tricky thing is, so far, with the episodes we have seen, the episode names are usually based on the Akuma character's name, pretty much every time. Let me just pop up on screen a little something with the episodes we already have at this point. See? But this name doesn't seem to refer to a person at all. It's not like someone is going to be akumatized and call themselves the Dark Castle. That sounds pretty silly. I mean, why would a person be called a castle? But with that being said, I don't have any idea what it could refer to. I'm a little stuck on this one, but it's interesting that it doesn't seem to refer to the Akuma character of the day. Unless it does, and someone just picks a pretty weird name. The closest Akuma character that we've already had before that it could remind me of from the dark part, it could be like, we had Dark Cupid and Dark Humor. But I doubt he would be the Dark Castle. But in the show, the closest thing we have to a castle is the mansion Adrian lives in. Maybe it could refer to that and be about his home life. Like, metaphorically, he lives in a castle in the luxury sense, but it's a dark castle. Not dark in the literal sense, but dark because it doesn't feel warm and homely or something. I don't know. It's probably not that, but that's the best I've got. Revelator. Now this is another one we already know because they released things in a stupid order, but I'm going to act like we don't for a moment. Now this one isn't too hard to figure out. From an English-speaking viewpoint, some people might have saw the revel part and thought that it had something to do with creating happiness, because the word revel means to enjoy oneself or create happiness or something like that. It's not a word people commonly use, but I sort of knew it. But because revel isn't a common word, other people might have thought it just sounds like reveal and predicted it being a bit something about revealing secrets, which actually would have gotten them closer to the truth. But the real evidence for people to pick up on is the fact that the show is French, and sometimes they use the same title as the French version if it works well enough, which is what they did here. Some of the episodes keep the same name. And according to a quick Google Translate, the word revelator translates to revealer. So it's pretty simple to predict it being about revealing secrets. Of course, it wouldn't have been so easy if people were trying to predict the actual Akuma character. Any number of characters could have the desire to reveal secrets, since so many characters have a secret identity. So the name could be applied to pretty much anyone getting akumatized. So I doubt people actually predicted that it was that guy. I don't even remember his name. sure, he's not a completely new character like Illusthater or Sublimation were, but we haven't seen him in forever. I don't even remember his name. He was Pixelator, that guy. He wanted to take photos of jagged stone or something. That's all I remember. So I doubt people would have predicted that Revelator is that guy. Wreckless Driver. Next, this one is Wreckless Driver, like wreck with a W, like destroying stuff. Kind of makes me think of Wreck-It Ralph, but whatever. I don't have much for this one. There's not much to go off. It's not like we have a character who's known for being a bad driver.
You drive like a maniac. You're a public health hazard.
But I never even went over 15 miles an hour.
No, that doesn't count. But now that I think about it, we might not have someone known for being a bad driver, but we do have someone known for being a driver. So maybe he's the Akuma character? Maybe he was driving a bit fast to protect Adrian and he gets in trouble for reckless driving or something and is angry about that and gets akumatized? There, that's my idea. It's probably not, but it's an idea. Yaksi Gozen. Well, my first thought on this one is that the Gozen part makes me think of Ikari Gozen, which was Kagami's mum. So I'm betting on it being her. As for the Yaksi part, I don't know what that could mean. It's probably Japanese and I don't know Japanese. Now on the wiki page for the episode Ikari Gozen, it does mention that Ikari means anger and the Gozen part is a title for female nobility. So that helps a bit, but for this one, since I can't translate Japanese, I don't know what the Yaksi part means. And we know the Gozen part makes it a female title of nobility. I'm still betting on it being Kagami's mum. But if anyone watching this knows Japanese and wants to tell me what Yaksi could mean, great. Please do. Grendiaper. So my first prediction I had seeing the title was that it could be another Gigantitan repeat. Mainly because of the diaper part, because it must refer to a baby, right? And the Gren part makes me think of grand, like big. So Gigantitan works. But then I thought, if it's not another Gigantitan, we do have one other baby in the show. Miss Boustier's baby, whose name is Harmony, by the way. It could be her. That's all I've got to go on, though. The Ruler. Now this is one more that we already know about, and thankfully it's the last one of those for this video. But forgetting about that for a moment, just looking at the name, I think back when we got the titles and I didn't know what it would be about, I think I predicted that it would have referred to a ruler in the sense of someone in charge, like the mayor. Although I keep forgetting Chloe's dad isn't even mayor anymore. I almost forgot that because I've been rewatching old episodes. Miss Bustier is the mayor now, so I might have predicted that it could be about her trying to be a good ruler. And it could maybe even have a double meaning where Ladybug is also struggling to be a good ruler in terms of being team leader for the heroes. That's what I would have predicted. But I'm pretty happy with what we did get. It's actually the one that I'm most excited to watch. The other funny thing about this title is that at one point a lot of people thought the episode was called The Straightener, which I think it was due to a bad translation of the French, because I guess the ruler refers to like the ruler you use to draw straight lines, and maybe the French word for a ruler is more like straightener in a literal sense. So with that title, it just adds to certain themes and symbolism in the episode that everyone's been talking about. But I won't get into that right now as much as I want to, because this video is about predictions and just the title, and I'll save that discussion for when I review that episode, which I'm really excited for. Noe? Noe? I'm not even sure how we're supposed to pronounce that. I'm going to call it Noe. Or it could be Noe. It kind of looks like Noel without the L. Regardless, it doesn't even sound like any word that I'm familiar with, so I couldn't really make any predictions since it doesn't give me anything to go on. So I looked it up for any clues at all, and just from searching Noe, spelt like that, the first thing I found is that it's a Norwegian word that means some or a little. Okay, I doubt that's what they're going for, since it doesn't seem that likely that they'd reference Norwegian. Then I had the idea to check if it has a different name in French and see what that means, but then I couldn't find an alternate name, which probably means it has the same name in French, like the others on the same list I've used, that when they only show one name, it's because they use the same name in French, like Climatiqueen or Revelator. So that means I still have nothing to go on. So I did one last Google search, and that's when I found out that Noe is sometimes used as a name, because I found it on a baby name website, which said that it's an alternate form of the name Noah. It means rest, repose, quiet, or peaceful, and it's derived from the Hebrew root word noach, and it's associated with the biblical figure Noah. And so the name inspires ideas of renewal and replenishment. Okay, that's the closest we've got to having something to go on. I still feel like I can't make much of a prediction, like about who the Akuma is, but we can at least keep those concepts in mind and see if the episode has anything that connects to those concepts. Or not, but that's all I've got for this one. A Very Good Night. Now, I don't feel like we have much to go on, but let's see if I can connect it to anything. The only previous mentions of a fairy are two things I can think of that we've had before. One is when, in Wishmaker, when Marinette wanted to be the knitting fairy. I don't think that means anything. The other is when we had Befana, who would turn people into fairies. Although to me they looked more like angels, and maybe that's what the original dub was going for, but maybe they didn't want to say angel to avoid religious symbolism, so I don't think fairy refers to her either. Both of those don't give us much. The good night part makes me think that it could have something with dreams or sleeping, which makes me think of Sandboy. Now, maybe it's not what they were going for, but I just want to say a Sandboy repeat would actually be kind of interesting now that a lot has changed. It'd be really cool to see what like the characters' fears are now when they're affected by it, because they've changed a lot, especially in the last few seasons. So, although it's a long shot, those are my ideas for possibilities for this title. The Dirtifiers. Now this doesn't sound like anything we've had before, but I have an idea. Usually the name refers to the Akuma character, but this name is a plural, which is why my bet is on Alia's little sisters being the Akuma together, like they already did. Maybe they get upset because they don't want to clean their room or something, hence becoming the Dirtifiers who want to make everything stay dirty. It's a little silly, but it could work, and it's the only idea I've got. Riginarazione. Now this word sounds a lot like regeneration, so at first I thought it could be something like that. But then I realized that was my Italian knowledge speaking, and if it were Italian, the word spelled like that, rigenerazione, would be the word regeneration. But it's not, it's French. It again uses the same title as the French dub. So I put the word in Google Translate for French, and it said origin. However, it did ask if I meant to type Rigenerazione, which is close, but it's a slightly different spelling, and when I clicked that, it did translate to regeneration. It's such a slight difference in spelling, but the fact that the episode title is spelt Rigenerazione means they seem to have meant the word that translates to origin. But origin of what? What could this even be about? I actually have no idea. The origin of the Miraculouses themselves? The origin of Adrian, told through discovering more about how that actually went at the time when he was made. Or the origin of something completely new. I don't know. I don't really have any real prediction for this one. Just a bunch of dumb ideas thrown out there. Heartfixer. So my first thought seeing this one is that it makes me think of Heart Hunter. Makes me think they might repeat that Akuma. Except I don't see how that would happen. That one was Chloe's parents, and while the concept of a combined Akuma would be interesting to see again, I doubt they could use those two again, because Chloe is in New York, unless she moves back. Her dad is still in Paris. He's not the mayor anymore, but I think he still owns the hotel, and Zoe lives with him. But their mum is of course in New York with Chloe. So I don't think it's that idea. I don't know what it could be though. The name Heartfixer sounds like it's someone who wants to bring a couple together. Maybe fix a problem when a couple has a fight or misunderstanding. But I don't know what character that plot might happen to, so I don't have much for this one. The Chained Titans. Now, this one is pretty ambiguous, but the first thing I notice is that it's another plural, like with the Dirtifiers. Since the name often refers to the Akuma character, it makes me wonder if it's a combined Akuma with multiple characters. I don't know who though, and I don't really have any ideas based on the name, so I'm at a loss with this one. Lady Chaos. Now, I've seen other people's predictions for this one, because a lot of people are saying it could be Marinette. And I'm on board with that prediction. Not just because I don't have a better one, I think it could be really interesting to see that. And there's no reason it can't be. The lady part would make sense because she's Ladybug, but it's not too obvious a name that the other characters would figure out she's Ladybug if she said, I am Lady Chaos. Now, the idea of Marinette getting akumatized is one that's been tossed around a lot, but it's never fully happened. We've had some close calls, like the one at the pool, or the one where she kissed Cat Noir, and there was one where Lila got her expelled. Now, some fans say, well, the writers could never actually do it, because if Marinette was the one akumatized, no one could capture the Akuma. But we know that's not too big of an issue, because there was that one time when she didn't even help with the Akuma, and they caught it in a jar for her to purify later. So they could do something like that again. Or it could happen where someone else is temporarily holding on to her Miraculous, like if she had to take it off for some reason, and then maybe we'd get someone else, like Scarabella, using it. I remember back when we had the Kwame's Choice two-parter, once they gave up their Miraculous, I thought we might get a short saga of them without their Miraculous, and having Scarabella and Kitty Noir fill in the hero slot for longer than what we actually got. And I was really hoping that they would also take that opportunity to explore the idea of Marinette getting akumatized, because they had the perfect opportunity to do that then, while we had Scarabella to purify the Akuma. But nope, they didn't. But the other thing that I think could be interesting for this episode would be if Ladybug was akumatized. Yes, I know they're the same person, but I mean as Ladybug. And then the Akuma name of Lady Chaos would make even more sense. I think it could be interesting to see, and we don't normally get to see a character get akumatized while their Miraculous is active. The only times we've had that is, I believe, Chloe as Queen Wasp, or there was the season 2 finale where Rena Rouge and Carapace got hit too, but that barely counts. There might be other examples, but I'm forgetting. Oh, there was that one part in the Shadybug special where Betterfly used the thing on Cat Noir, and he used it on Ladybug at one point too, but that's different from getting akumatized, so forget about that. All in all, I think Ladybug getting akumatized could be a great concept to try, if they can pull it off well, so I'm really hoping for that for this episode. Sadnansi. This one seemed kind of obvious to me. It sounds like Anansi, which was Alia's older sister. We haven't really seen her in a while, so it could be interesting to use her again, which is why I'm going with her being the Akuma since the name is so similar. Queen of the Dreadzone. Now, I don't really have much in mind for this one. Again, the queen thing makes me think of Chloe, but as far as we know, she's in New York, unless she somehow comes back. Other than that, all I can say is that I think this one will probably be where things get a bit bigger or heavier, because it is the third last one. Like, the finale is usually a two-parter, but for this episode to be the one before the last two, it's probably also going to be a bit big. Because I remember in season 5, even the episodes leading up to the finale seemed to get bigger or have some elements that lead into the finale. So whoever the Queen of the Dreadzone is should better be pretty big and threatening. Secret Protocol and Nemesis. Now, these are the last two, and I'm kind of lumping them together, because I wouldn't be surprised if the finale stuff basically starts in the second last one, and make it basically a two-parter, as they often do. Now, if we're dealing with a big threat, I feel like Secret Protocol could refer to one of two things. Either it could mean the villain's secret protocol, like a big plan they enact for the big finale. And side note, I say plural villains and not just Chrysalis because they could be accomplices. And I am already aware of that council thing we see in El Toro De Piedra, but I won't say much about this in case you haven't seen that. I'm trying to keep these predictions sort of spoiler-free by not saying much of what we've already seen of Season 6, so that you can watch this video if you haven't seen any of Season 6. The other idea I had is that it could refer to a secret protocol that the hero team has, something they come up with that they don't usually do, but they need in this situation. Maybe a failsafe or a last resort that they need to resort to because the threat got bigger for the finale. One thing that comes to mind for that idea is Bunnix. When we first met adult Bunnix, she even said she's a last resort that Ladybug calls on when they run out of options. And speaking of which, we've had to miss out on seeing Alex for a while because she's been hiding in the timeline ever since the beginning of Season 5. She's a great character and I've really missed her, and it sucks that we had to miss out on having her around because of the plot just being like this. We all thought maybe she'd get to come out of hiding once we defeated Monarch, but I guess she still can't while there's still a big threat. I think there was even a line in the London special where Marinette said to her that she thought Alex would be able to come home after defeating Monarch, but since she lost the Butterfly Miraculous, it's still not safe to come home, since whoever had the Butterfly Miraculous is a big threat now, and they don't want to risk this new villain getting a hold of the Rabbit Miraculous. So we've missed her all through Season 5, and it seems like we're going to miss her all through Season 6 as well, which is quite a shame, but I get why. But anyway, that's what I thought of as one idea for the Secret Protocol. Moving on to Nemesis, all I can think of is the obvious choice that it refers to Lila, or Cerise, whatever you call her. You know what I mean, even if I still say Lila. She's the new big bad, so it makes sense that in the season finale, a word like Nemesis would refer to her. Maybe she declares Ladybug her nemesis or something, I don't know. But that's all I can think of for that one. Regardless, I have a feeling this season finale will be epic, or at least it should be. I'm not expecting them to actually defeat Lila though, because when you think about it, she only just became the new villain, and Gabriel was the big villain for 5 whole seasons. So now it's like we've got a new chapter of the show with a new big villain. So I'm sure she's going to stick around just as long and take multiple seasons to defeat. I did hear that it was confirmed that there's a plan for 14 seasons or something, so they've got plenty of time to stretch out an arc of her as the villain. Regardless, even though they probably shouldn't defeat her yet, the season finale should still be pretty epic and have some sort of big plot progression. One idea that would of course be a big plot point would be if this season finale is the day Adrian finds out about some of the secrets, whether it be the secret of him being a center monster or the secret of his father being monarch. Maybe not both, maybe one or the other. I feel like he should learn those at separate points so he can go through that separately. I'm sure he's going to learn those eventually. The question is when, and of course how. Like whether he hears it directly from Marinette or somewhere else. Because if it doesn't come from her, he'll be even more mad at her for not telling him, because then he'll think she was never planning to tell him. We know that kind of drama involving those secrets getting revealed has to come at some point. As for whether they'll do that in the season 6 finale, or whether they'll hold off on that and continue those secrets being kept into the next season, that remains to be seen, of course. But regardless, I can't predict much else about the finale, especially not based on that title, but all I can say is that I hope they do it well and that it's epic, as a season finale should be. But that's it for my predictions. What did you guys think? I hope I didn't ramble too much and make the video too long, but there were 26 episodes to go through, and I didn't want to make them their own separate prediction videos, so I just did it as one big video for the full season. I know some of these episodes are already out, but I wanted to do these predictions anyway, so then I'd have this done, and then I can start reviewing season 6. So then I can look back on my predictions. And I'm really looking forward to getting started on season 6. I'm excited to finally see what season 6 has to offer. And of course I have heard a lot about it and had some spoilers. But that's also why I want to catch up as quickly as I can. And then I'll try to avoid spoilers as much as I can and watch new episodes as soon as they drop and review them right away. I'm really excited, so the next video I record will probably be a season 6 episode review. So with that being said, I'll see you next time for more Miraculous and other things as well. See you next time, guys.